Welcome to the Electric Playground. Today on the show, we dive deep into Nintendo's big announcements in the rundown.
Plus, we let you know what's going on in the latest film in the Divergent series called Insurgent.
And then we get animated by reading from the Book of Life.
Why don't you fight a real man with a really awesome mustache?
Also coming up, we review the new game Disco Zoo from the makers of Tiny Tower and Disney's live-action Cinderella movie and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day, and I just scored an extra special star power, so now I feel like I can do anything. Let's get started with the rundown. Earlier this week, Nintendo made some huge announcements that are shaking up the gaming world. First up, Nintendo is joining forces with mobile game developer DNA to bring Nintendo franchises to smartphones and tablets for the first time. The two companies will co-develop new games exclusively for mobile devices, and all of the iconic characters from Nintendo's vast library are up for grabs. They haven't revealed any specific titles or mobile platforms, but DNA has traditionally developed for iOS and Android gadgets. The first Nintendo mobile games are expected to arrive later this year. This is something Nintendo investors have been demanding for a long time, given the popularity of mobile gaming. Nintendo owns the most iconic and recognizable video game characters in the world, and now they'll be opening them up to the largest possible group of users, rather than forcing people to buy dedicated Nintendo machines like the 3DS or Wii U. This doesn't mean Nintendo is abandoning dedicated gaming machines. President Satoru Iwata has revealed that they've already begun working on their next-generation gaming console, codenamed the NX. That's all we know for now, but more info will be revealed next year. Finally, Nintendo is also working on a new multi-device membership service that will encompass the Wii U and 3DS, along with smart devices, the PC, and the upcoming NX. This means you'll be able to use one Nintendo account to buy and play games across all of these platforms, which will hopefully be a lot more user-friendly than the sometimes cumbersome Nintendo ID. The new service will launch this fall. Huge bombshell news this week, and here to help me dissect it all is my pal Marissa Roberto. Nintendo is going to be making mobile games.
Oh my goodness.
How do you feel?
Well, I was happy with this news. I know a lot of people were not, and I saw your tweet because everyone is all about the doom and gloom when it comes to, especially Nintendo fans, like fanboys, they jump all over this stuff and they get upset. Honestly, I've loved Nintendo for so long, and I have never really felt the need to hate on their decisions. I always feel like they usually make the right moves, even though it doesn't seem like it at the time. So perhaps this will be another good move on their part.
I think this is a genius move, actually, because they've allowed the mobile industry, which has been so volatile, to kind of mature a little bit over the last few years. They've worked with a company that's kind of got a proven track record. We may not all be fans of DNA's titles, but Nintendo now owns a percentile stake in a company that's already making a lot of money in the mobile space. They can impart a whole bunch of wisdom and credibility to that company and start earning in a bunch of different ways. And now I think they're set up to shape a whole new kind of landscape for mobile gaming.
That's true. The only concern would be the freemium titles. But I've been enjoying the freemium titles a little bit more now, and I like to keep the purse strings tight, as I like to say. So I'm playing a freemium, maybe Mario Endless Runner. Might not sound appealing to some people, but I think I could get into it.
Well, I think, and this is the big hurdle that Nintendo has to get over, because they don't want to lose the awesome controls that are always a part of their gaming experiences. But they also have incredible franchises like the Pokemon games and the Fire Emblems and the Advance Wars, which are kind of perfect for touchscreens and would be kind of cool in a free-to-play model if done correctly. And I have a lot of respect for Iwata-san coming out there and saying we don't want to devalue our properties and we're going to, not put our games on smartphones. I thought, yes, they've done the 180, but they've done it in a very smart way. So I'm excited about what they've got coming up.
No, change is good, and honestly, there have been so many copycats in the App Store of Nintendo games. So the fact that they can actually put their games out there will be a good thing. I think a good thing for gamers.
Well, they're in the lead of it. They're in charge of it. They're in front of this decision. And a big part of this announcement, obviously, is the announcement of the new NX console. I think it's going to be a console slash portable. I think that they're going to make one device, and sort of bank on that. But yeah, I think they're going to make a hybrid machine, and I think that they had to kind of tell us about it now because they don't want people to think that they're getting out of the hardware business. Their hardware is terrific. Look at the success of the new 3DS.
The new 3DS is amazing. It's true. I guess, yeah, I don't want to be tied to my TV anymore either, so I like that idea of a hybrid console / portable, although I guess it just would be a really fancy portable.
This is going to be a very interesting ongoing development. I think we're not going to see anything about NX at E3 this year, but we'll see something next year for sure. And listen, it's time for us to talk about movies, though. There's a new one in the Divergent franchise. It's called Insurgent. Let's go behind the scenes with the cast.
Help me! I can't let anyone else die because of me.
No one else is gonna die because of you.
In the first movie that you find out again about this part of society which is on the fringes, that kind of you're led to believe the failures, but they're not really at the end of the day. They're just people who haven't fitted in for whatever reason, but they feel very betrayed by the system. They've been pushed out and they're almost homeless. But in the years preceding the film, what's happened is they've slowly gained in numbers and gained in strength. So when we enter their faction system, we see that it's actually very well organized and complex.
We are finding out that there are more divergents than just Triss, that all of them collectively have been hiding and have been afraid to show in this world. And so now in the Insurgent world, because everything really is crumbling, the divergents can come out and identify themselves and can actually find a place in society which they couldn't before.
Oops, excuse me. Hey, Triss, I really like your hair, by the way. Did you try to cut it all short and weird like that?
Why don't you take your food and sit down, huh?
In Insurgent, you find this world that was created in the first one. It's kind of starting to collapse. The societies that have been separated from each other, and now there's starting to be a gray area and trying to figure out who's in power here. And Janine is trying to hold on to as much as she can, and she needs Triss.
Find them. Every last one of them. Janine, I think, is one of those inherently terrible, awful people who has a strength that comes from a place that is not necessarily genuine or even remotely honest, even though as far as she is concerned, she believes that she is being genuine and that she is being honest and that she does want the best for this world in which these characters live.
Triss is a very rare breed of divergence. Triss can do things that a lot of divergents aren't able to do. And so, even more so than before, Janine seeks Triss out because she has a plan in which she needs to utilize the skills of these special divergents.
It used to be where, studios made their movies in a vacuum and then they were kind of presented to the world and then people would respond and react and there would be a fan base based on that. But nowadays, because the interactivity of the internet and social media, it's almost a conversation that takes place with the audience as a film is being made.
I'm not gonna fight you.
Of course you're not. You're gonna fight you.
I think the audience is gonna be attracted to the visual effects, the action sequences, which are so intriguing, but B, the deep humanity in this film, the connection to fighting for what's right, even when no one else around you is.
I think the first one obviously had action, but this one I think is just taken to the next level of action. Now that we've established these characters and we have some great new characters as well, I think people will walk away very satisfied in that respect. I think, the story is still strong, the writing is very good, but I think the action will keep you on the edge of your seat more.
Okay, yep, I'm all brushed up and ready to see Insurgent. It's out in theaters today.
All right, well, don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to be reading from the Book of Life.
Oh.
All the world is made of stories, and all of those stories are right here.
Welcome back to EP Daily. This next segment's going to have a lot of puppets.
Wait a second, did you just say puppets?
Yeah.
You know how I feel about puppets. I hate puppets with their beady little shiny eyes, which, now that I see you, kind of look like your eyes.
Oh, okay, just relax for a second, Jones, because they kind of look like your eyes.
No, your eyes.
But I think you'll enjoy the puppets in Book of Life.
I have something for you, Maria.
That is so nice of you. Wow. I'm speechless.
Oh, yeah, right? I get that a lot.
Good night, Joaquin.
Ever since we saw the trailers for this in theaters last summer, I've been wanting to see The Book of Life, and finally we can. It's out on Blu-ray. This is a film produced by Guillermo del Toro, but it's a CG animated movie about the Day of the Dead.
A day when spirits pass between worlds and anything can happen.
Look there. Two best friends.
Oh, in love with the same girl.
It's such a cool concept.
La Dia de los Muertes. It's so friggin' beautiful. The animation here is so lovely, and they go into a lot of the animation process, of course, in the Blu-ray features, which I absolutely love. But the beauty of this movie is the story here. This story between a girl and these two guys that are her friends when they're little, but then they grow up, and of course the men are in love with her. We are talking about Joaquin and Manolo.
You've picked yourself a feisty one.
Manolo has a soft and gentle heart, but his family wants him to be a matador, but he wants to play the guitar. And Joaquin is just a battler. He wants to go out there and he wants to save the world.
Yeah,
and
he's a military man.
Yeah, and he believes that Maria will want the hero. So Maria is torn between not only her love for both of her friends, but also her love for her family and her city. So she has to make a lot of really tough decisions here. But I must say, Vic, the reason why I was really stoked to get into this movie, one reason, one man, his name is Diego Luna. He plays Manolo, but I have to tell you, this is another confession. I fell in love with him when I watched Dirty Dancing 2 Havana Nights.
This is not True Confessions Reviews on the Run edition, okay? That's nice that you watched Dirty Dancing 2 Havana Nights.
Somebody had to watch it. Somebody had to watch it.
I was wondering who watched it. Oh, boy. This is an eclectic cast, and I do think that Diego Luna is a great standout. He's got a terrific voice. He's not really a singer, but he's got a really lovely singing voice in this thing, and he really brings this character to life. Everybody falls in love with him in the story, and it's a great story as well.
Why don't you fight a real man with a really awesome mustache?
The title references a book, and you do kind of feel like you're leafing through an old fable or an old fairy tale.
Right, being told by Christina Applegate.
Yeah, which is great.
All you can eat churros.
And then you've got these two lords of the Forgotten Realm or lords of the Remembered Realm, which are two sort of factions in the Day of the Dead land.
And the two gods are actually in love with one another. They are husband and wife in the story, which is really interesting. There's so many layers of story here, which is lovely. And then when you get into the special features, you actually get to know the director, Jorge R. Gutierrez, and he put his life into this movie. Everything about this movie and every character in this movie was about somebody that he knew, and you could really feel it. You could feel it while you're watching this movie.
Because of all of these different layers, it makes it a pretty cool collectible as well. This is absolutely something unique. I like the pop culture mash of all of this Mexican-flavored music. There's some beautiful orchestrations, and there's some great pop songs.
Radiohead.
Yeah.
The Radiohead sung.
In a sort of like a flamenco kind of way, with Diego Luna just belting it out. I mean, it's a surreal experience tripping through this thing, and I think it's a great collectible on Blu-ray. I absolutely think this is a cool movie for people to check out for sure.
Yeah.
Did you think it was gonna be that easy?
I kinda did.
We do need to say, though, that this movie is PG, so it's a little scary for the younger ones, especially those bulls. They're scary.
Yeah. Yeah, some cool action sequences in this, too. What are you going to give The Book of Life?
It gets a 9.5.
It gets an 8.5 from me. Cool stuff.
Well, that's it. I'll be sleeping with the lights on for weeks.
Just relax, Jones. Book of Life is now out on Blu-ray. We're taking a break so we can calm down Scott.
Listen, I am calm. Will you stop looking at me with your shiny black eyes?
Okay, when we come back, we're going to a disco zoo.
EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by GameLock, makers of Dragon Mania Legends, which you can play for free right now.
If you like bell bottoms and enjoy the zoo, I've got a game for you. It's called Disco Zoo. You wouldn't think that discos and zoos go together, but surprisingly, they do, especially in this game. It's a freemium one. What you're doing is you're making your own zoo. So you need to collect animals for your zoo. So what you do is you fly away and you go to a secret location and you collect animals by discovering them, and you discover them by tapping tiles on your screen. You want to match them, and you only have a certain amount of turns to match tiles, so then collect animals, and then you upgrade your animals by collecting the same ones over and over again. Yes, this game has the same freemium tropes as many others, where you have a certain amount of turns that you can use, and you can pay for more turns if you want to. I never found that I need to spend money in this game, but I often don't with freemium games. I love when you go back to the zoo and you get to read reviews from different people that write it for the paper, and you actually go to the office and check that out. They're always so funny. And what you also want to do in the zoo is have a disco party, and you collect money with a disco party and you keep the animals awake because they will fall asleep. This game is a lot of fun, but it's not something that I'm going to go back to. It just doesn't have that hook for me. So if you want to check it out in the App Store, you can and compete with friends. Disco Zoo is getting a 7 out of 10. That game was actually made by the same people who made Tiny Tower. Now let's switch gears and head to theaters. Disney has made a fortune adapting their animated movies to live action. This time it's Cinderella, and Vic and I have the review.
Cinderwench.
Dirty Ella.
Cinderella.
Disney is keeping the dream alive and turning their beloved cartoon classics into live-action features. The latest is Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella, and it was already a blockbuster smash last weekend. We decided we had to go and see it.
They're all looking at you.
Believe me, they're all looking at you.
Cinderella is lovely, lovely. Lily James is lovely Cinderella, and I recognize her from Downton Abbey, and I recognize a lot of faces in this movie because of not only Downton Abbey, but other awesome BBC shows like Gavin and Stacey. You just see little faces here or there because I've been in love with the BBC so much. So jumping into this, first of all, I have to say that I feel like I already knew the story. Everyone knows the story.
Yes.
So jumping into it, I didn't think that I was going to find any entertainment in it, but it really charmed me.
Yeah.
From the start, just jumping in and just falling into this world where maybe fairy tales can come true, and maybe life didn't taint me at all, and maybe I will find my Prince Charming too.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Are you all right?
I'm all right, but you've nearly frightened the life out of him.
Who?
The stag.
But we're hunting, you see. That's what's done.
Just because it's what's done doesn't mean it's what should be done.
You're right.
Everybody grows up with this movie. I saw it when I was a kid, and there are a lot of the princess movies, but somehow the simplicity of this story endures, and it's one that everybody can kind of reconnect with and be familiar with. And I think there's something to be said for reinventing or revisiting a classic for a modern audience.
Well, that's the thing, because this story has been turned into modern stories for years now, and this is actually the heart of Cinderella. This is the story of Cinderella. They didn't change much of it at all, really.
Ella, I almost forgot. Remember, the magic will only last so long. With the last echo of the last bell, at the last stroke of midnight, the spell will be broken, and all will return to what it was before.
Midnight.
Midnight.
I honestly didn't think that it would carry me through, and for a moment there, it didn't. There was some moments that, I mean, the wagon that comes apart, the pumpkin wagon that comes apart, it also came apart for me at those moments as well, just because you knew it was going to happen. Okay, this is taking too long now. And then I started thinking about the kids that were in the audience as well. Maybe the movie is a little bit too long for them. It could have been shortened quite a bit.
Yeah, there are some check your watch moments. There are also some very sad moments in the movie, and I could imagine this being a bit traumatizing for a younger kid that's going to see this, or a parent.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I was absolutely devastated when parents start dropping like flies in this movie, and you just think of the kids and the relationships, and there actually is this innate sadness all the way through.
Yes, stepmother. Oh, you needn't call me that. Madam will do.
Ella is just such a loving soul who sort of tries to live up to the credo of have kindness and courage, and I thought that's a pretty fantastic message to send out to everybody. What's not so fantastic is those damn corsets that they have all of the women wearing in this thing, with super pinched, unrealistic Barbie doll waists, and that's all weird. And also the idea that they have to put all of their faith in being discovered by a man to make their whole life. None of that crap I want my daughter thinking or believing or seeing and saying, yes, I can see the value in storytelling or messaging like this.
Well, that's when the wagon came off the wheels for me at that moment, when you see the Barbie doll and she walks in and it's just, okay, well, obviously she's going to take all of their attention because she's the fairest and she has the tiniest waist. So those moments were bothersome for sure. Aside from all of the tropes that women have to fall into, especially in a story like this, the movie did charm me much like The Prince.
Yeah, there's some baloney you have to get through, but I think it's still a pretty fun film, actually. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it gets a 7 from me.
So my podiatrist tells me that I can't wear glass slippers anymore. Apparently, they're not good for my arches. And listen, we've got more EP coming up for you after the break.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to EP Daily. It is time now for our Twitter question of the day. This one is God for Mayor, and he or she is asking, have you ever had to delete or ask someone to take a game away from you because it was so addictive?
I don't want to answer this because you're going to be so mad at me.
No, come on. What is it?
I was playing Candy Crush a
Oh
while
my
ago.
God.
I knew you were going to be mad at me.
Oh my
I had
God.
to delete it because I was embarrassed for myself that I was playing it. So I got pretty far, and then I said, that is it.
Whoa.
I can't, it's kind of like crack. Not that I've ever tried crack, but I think it's like crack. I'm sorry.
That's pretty bad. That's unbelievable. I can't believe you played that game. I actually don't ever have that issue. I've got pretty good self-control because I keep moving on to the next stuff.
Right,
And, my challenge might be that I play games a little too long because we record a lot of our own footage when we're reviewing these things.
Yeah.
So sometimes I turn over a little too much footage to the editors.
That's okay.
And they're not that happy about it.
Oh, okay,
when
so
they have
maybe
to
not.
go through 7 hours of RPG goodness.
Oh, the good RPG.
But remember, you can ask us any questions that you want to and get caught up on full episodes and a whole lot more at epn.tv.
We're going to leave you now with an exclusive clip from the Blu-ray of Angelina Jolie's movie, Unbroken.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox.
Tinker was a dive bomb pilot during World War II. Before the war, he was, studying at Juilliard to be an opera singer, which is extremely impressive.
Frank Tinker became Louis' best friend in camp. He was a very bright man, a very strong survivor, a man very loyal to Louis.
After the war, after his experiences in these prison camps, he went on to serve again in the Korean War as a pilot. And then after that, he actually served as a diplomat in Canada for the United States.